Hey everyone, I'm really excited because Fuji came out with the firmware update 3.0 for the X-H2s. They even came out with a video. They kind of promoted it, said, hey, we got this great AI-based autofocus that's even better now. And I've seen that in the past. I've had a couple problems with the AI-based autofocus. For instance, at a nature center last week, I was shooting some geese who were by the melted water, and they were flapping around like crazy people, you know, doing their geese crazy thing. And my camera really struggled with focusing on them when stuff came in front of the camera, even though I had it on bird autofocus, subject, you know, in my boost mode, all that stuff. It struggled and was losing focus a lot. And so I'm excited to check out the autofocus update at the same place, shooting the same things. Another thing that I struggled with was focusing on a bird flying with a kind of chaotic background. And we're going to go and see how the camera's 3.0 firmware update deals with those situations in a quick and unscientific check on how it works out. So I've saved a couple sequences from the shoot using the 3.0 update. I'm using the 100 to 400. And I think overall, I'm super impressed. I think this thing did a really good job, much better than it did last week. So without a doubt, I can see an update. The 3.0 update really did a good job of helping. And it seems like you could see the difference between last week and now. But I do still think there's a couple things that they can improve. So that's what we're going to kind of look at. This first sequence is an easy one. And I'll admit, it's not one that's going to challenge many cameras. Basically, we're going to go full screen. Basically, the goose is in one spot, but it is flapping around. Its wings are going crazy. The camera, for the most part, really did a good job of focusing on the bird and or the eye. So you can see even when the wings go in front of the bird and the water droplets go in front of the bird's eye, it does a good job, but it's mostly staying in one spot, and it's not a real challenging background. There's not a lot of competition back there. So mostly it does a good job. You can see it slightly misfocus here, but it picks it up right there. That's really good. So nice job, Fuji. So far, it looks really good. This actually was a couple of these would have struggled last week with the previous to the 3.0 update. Let's look at some more. And they get more challenging as we go. This one's a fun one. Found that goose coming in from the left. I swiveled my camera, and one of the things I think is doing much better is acquisition. So just to let you know, my autofocus modes, again, I'm in boost mode, I'm in continuous autofocus mode, I'm in bird autofocus. I do have my custom settings set to tracking sensitivity to 4, which means that it shouldn't be looking for other subjects. And I have my speed to 1, and I have my initial focus acquisition either set to single autofocus, but mostly zone focus. So I'm putting my zone in front of the bird that I want, or my single focus in front of the bird that I want. And then the autofocus algorithm, the bird autofocus takes over and starts to track that bird. So that's basically what my settings are. And I've got a shutter speed of 4,000, I think, just to make sure that I had a really high shutter speed. And one of the things, the subject acquisition is quicker, I think, than before. You know, that one's just slightly soft, and then it's just perfect right there. So, and then it locks, and it stays locked pretty well on this. So even though the background's a little bit chaotic right there, it's doing a good job of keeping that goose in focus. The background's not that bad, but again, I'm pretty happy, especially because you can tell how clumsy I am. I'm not a super great birder, so the birds moving in and to the right and the left of the frame, but all these shots are in focus, all the way down to splashing in, the landing. That's cool, right? Look at all that splashing, and it's staying right there focused on the eye, which is super cool, even though the bird's wings are partly covering its face, but it does not miss focus. Nice work. It stays there all the way through. There's a lot of chaos now. This is when last week my camera struggled, and this week it does a much better job. All the way through. Look at all the water in front of the face, and it's still in focus. That is super cool. And then you have a challenging situation because these other birds come into the frame, and I think that this is still in focus. It's still in focus. You can see still in focus. Look at that tongue. That thing's crazy. That's a cool shot. And then it jumps back here to the back to this goose, which is a little weird because I don't know why it would go from here to back there. This is why I think that the custom settings do not have an effect, because I have that set to the slowest when it stops tracking, it doesn't try to pick up something new for the longest amount of time is what I told the camera to do on the tracking sensitivity to set to 4. But that's not a big deal. The entire sequence was nearly perfect. And so if I have one slightly out of focus because it focused on that, big deal. It gets more challenging. This is awesome. Look at how cool this is. So cool. Perfect shots. The X-H2s did a great job. And now this lunatic decides he's going to go just down under. And he keeps going. Now the camera, I'm just continuing to hold the focus. And it's looking. It doesn't know. It can't find a bird. Can't find a bird. It's just focusing right here. And then, like Godzilla, emerging from the water, here it is. Coming right at me. Mouth open. How I love this thing. Now, it's blurry, but it doesn't know there's a bird probably. I wouldn't know it either, you know. And then it's locking focus, and now it's completely locked. So we went from being completely submerged, and that camera did a good job of picking up that focus and locking in right there. Look at that. That is amazing. I love that. That's probably my favorite sequence of the day as far as being impressive. I was even in the camera saying, wow, this is pretty cool. This is something a little bit different. Let's keep it going. There's a couple more sequences to look at. This one is pretty good, but until the end, and then it's like you can see some of the issues that I might still have with the camera, and I think that they could fix though. So you can see my inexperience. I'm not framing things up correctly, but it's tracking that bird really well until right there, and it kind of inexplicably, I cannot say that word, goes to the top. It goes to that bird, and it stays with that bird. So the camera must have just stopped believing that this was the bird to follow and thought that was it. So not sure how that happened because it's still in focus right there and right there. And then right there it decided to go. So I think the problem that I'm seeing a little bit, and not a big one, is that it sometimes looks at other things and will focus on that. So again, I'm on continuous autofocus and I'm on bird autofocus. So I would consider that it should probably stay there. This one's pretty cool. This one shows you some of the power of the bird coming directly at you. It's coming at me. It's losing its mind, right? This is when the goose just loses its mind. He's like, I'm just going to fly real low over the water. And most of the time it's in focus, but you can see it's focused back here, not on the bird. Not a big deal, though. I'm not looking for perfection. I'm just looking for, overall accuracy. And most of these are pretty good. There's a lot going on. Look at all that. That's an excellent shot. It's locked focus on the face. That's really good. Most of these are excellent. A little out of focus, back to focus. These are nice. And then it's kind of weird here. I could see exactly what's happening. Like these seem like they're just missed focus. And that's, to me, it's understandable. No camera is going to be perfect. I've used a lot of Sonys and Canons, the new stuff, and they do work great, but they're not perfect either. But then it does sometimes strangely go to other geese. So it's tracking this and then goes over here. You can see that's in focus, the next shot, and then it's back once that thing leaves a frame. And it does a pretty good job all the way through. And that thing dive bombs again. It's just going to go under. And then this guy's going to come out. He's going to be like, "Whoa, what's up? What's up, dude?" And I'm going to show you up. These geese are so funny. I love these guys. We got a couple more sequences. I think this one's interesting because it starts off really well. We got a goose who's like shaking all the water off. Focus is perfect. And then we go nicely. And then we're in the background and it switched to the other bird. And it just didn't seem to have a reason to switch. But again, these are small things overall. Very cool. And then we got this awesome duck who's going to come and rain on these geese's party. He's going to mess them up. So he's coming in, and again, it's acquiring the focus incredibly fast. I just pointed it at that duck, and it just locked, which is awesome. I think it's doing this quicker than it has in the past. And all the way through, these are pretty good until it drops to this guy, keeps on that guy, and then goes back to the goose. So a little strange, it's looking at this and it's locking, but I'm not too mad at it. It's still impressive when you look at the overall hit rate. And a lot of these are really nice. Like that one's super sharp. And, you know, a little soft, a lot soft, completely out of focus, but back to mostly focused. And then it does a little out of focus, a little out of focus. That's really good. That's pretty good. Those are all really good. Oh, look at that one. That one's perfect, right? And you can see I'm trying to keep up with that bird too. So it could be a combination of me moving the camera in unexpected ways and the bird. But overall, again, look at that. That's incredible. The wings are partly covering the head, and it's still just locking. And at this point, I think it's just completely stays on this goose. So even though the face is completely covered, it doesn't go anywhere. That's just awesome. Just all the way through, looking great. All the way through the crazy landing. I hope you guys like my sound effects. And then we see at the end, it's perfect. Like, look at that. The water, and it's very, very nice. And then at the very end is when it locks focus up here, which is a little strange because that's like just a big blob of a bird, and that's a duck's butt. And it locks focus up there for some reason. But again, I don't care because the entire rest of the way was mostly pretty good, right? So I'm like super impressed by what I'm seeing right here. Awesome job. I think this is amazing. It bodes well for Fuji's future. They do say that they have updates to autofocus coming to the X-T5 and the X-H2 next. And I hope those are significant because I still have some reservations about the autofocus system in those two cameras specifically. I think that Fuji's on the way of making me really confident to be able to say that they have as good autofocus, at least with the X-H2s, as pretty much anything out there. This thing rocks, and I feel really, really good about the future of Fujifilm's autofocus. Let's keep those updates coming, Fuji. We love you. Until next time, if you have any questions, by the way, throw them below. If you have suggestions over, anything that I'm doing wrong I can be a better birder. I need to be a better birder. And other than that, we'll see you guys later.